So this is where I just came from directly. It's a little bit different than Las Vegas. It's this snowy mountain range in Wyoming. And it was a pretty amazing experience because I hadn't been there since I was 10 years old. It's where I grew up. We actually had a cabin up there with no running water, no gas. You had to go outside into the privy or the outhouse to use it. And this is where I experienced my childhood. And it's really fresh with me right now, so I thought I'd just start there and share it with you. This is my family. That's me in the back there on the snowmobile all by myself. I'm probably 8 years old. And this is how my family lived. We went out, my mom cross-country skiing, my brother and my dad on one snowmobile. I'm 8 years old, driving my own snowmobile, 10,000 feet through the mountains, no one there. This family took risks. We took a lot of risks, and we stuck together as a family to work through things. This is a picture of me. I was building a fort. Actually, my mom, this is my mom. We're sitting there, 10,000 feet, no one else around at all. And I have all these like nails and wood, and a bucket, and I'm like marching off. My mom's like, oh, honey, where are you going? I'm like, Mom, I'm gonna go out in the middle of the woods and build a secret fort where no one can find me. My mom says, oh, that's nice, have fun. And so I went and built a fort there, and that's my friend Dave. The two of us built this fort out in the middle of the woods together. And then this continued in my life. I built cars, I took engines out, I raced them, I wrecked them. When I was 16, I said, you know what, I'll take another risk. I'm gonna move to Sweden. You know, I moved from California to Sweden. Good idea, right? I get there, and this is what it's like. It's cold and it's dark. I'm like, what was I thinking? But there were some upsides as a 16-year-old boy. And then after I graduated college, my grandma gave me $500. And most of my classmates, they all went, and they went to Europe or something backpacking. I went and got a truck, stripped it down, and turned it into a 28-foot-long Viking warship. Little known fact, but I actually hold the world's land speed record for a Viking ship. At which point I'm driving, and I'm going about 95 miles an hour in this Viking ship, and it's about to take off, and I'm kind of floating through the air. I'm like, whoa. And I look over, and there's a California Highway Patrol right next to me. And I'm like, woo. And he looks at me, he's like, woo. Drives off. It's probably because he knew I had a gasoline flamethrower on the front of it. So I ended up with a TV show, and I think that all my professors like to think, oh, it's the PhD and all that crap. Actually, it was building the Viking ship. They saw that, and they said, we want to do a show like that. And so Discovery Channel called upon me, said, okay, we want to do this show about inventing the future, and how are we going to do it? And so we came up with this system where we'd come up with these crazy ideas, and then we'd bring in all these experts and the right people, and then we'd build things like 10-foot-tall boxing robots, where you swing your arm, the robot swings its arm, and they fight in the ring. Or we built an unstealable bike. So San Francisco bike theft is a huge problem. So this bike had all these security mechanisms in them. You see one of them in the pedals, there were these spikes that would flip up and catch the perpetrator's feet, locking him to the bike. Oh, there's a video here, but
I'll play it, thank you.
I'll show it in action. So this bike had, in the steering, it had this pin that would go in and would lock the steering. If you ever tried to ride a bike where you can't steer, you immediately fall. And just to make sure, we actually put in a locking braking system in it, which then would take the suspect and would actually flip them off the bike. Well, not off the bike, because they're locked to it, with their feet in the pedals. Tim was our poor stunt guy. He came in, and he had to ride this bicycle, and he's just riding along, and he doesn't really know how this thing's going to work. All of a sudden, both his feet are locked to it. The whole thing locks up. He's riding about 15 miles an hour, and the whole thing tumbles and flips. Tim goes end over end. We had other ideas for Tim as well. This is a safety device, okay? It's called the personal airbag, and it's an airbag that you would wear on yourself, and then if you fall, it inflates and, saves you, right? It looks really safe, right? Tim looks very secure in this poor thing. We'll see if this video plays. So, since we don't have the video, I'll tell a little story. So the first time we do this, Tim's up there, and he's got on this kind of Mission Impossible safety gear that'll arrest his fall no matter what. He jumps off the thing, the airbags inflate, the pads just fall. It's spectacular. The producers are like, wow, that was amazing. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, let's take off all the other safety gear and do it again. The stunt coordinator's like, no, no, no. And so there was a certain amount of fall that you had to go before the bags would actually inflate. So the stunt coordinator brings him down, and they put him on the scissor lift. And they're raising him up and raising him up. And he's about 6, 7 feet off the ground. And the stunt coordinator's like, you can't go any higher. I'm sitting over here, the PhD engineer, going, let's see, it takes about 3 feet for it to know it's falling, about 3 feet to inflate. We need to go a little higher, right? A little bit higher. And stunt coordinator's like, no. Argument, engineer, stunt coordinator wins. Poor Tim swan dives off this thing, hits this mat, and the second he hits it, both the bags explode, flies back in the air. Poor Tim. So this is my favorite project. This is a 6-legged all-terrain vehicle. And I just want to run through a little bit of what these projects took. We built this in 4 weeks. So we built a custom chassis. So we designed and built a custom chassis. We went and found the best welder we could find in the entire Bay Area. We went and got the motors and built gearboxes to go with the motors, and then these attachment systems to that. We had battery packs that we had to make custom circuit boards for that acted as the battery management system. So you can start to see we're starting to pull from all these different expertise in different directions and start to pull them all together to create this vehicle. This is what I worked on. These were carbon fiber legs. We actually had to lay down 150 different layers of carbon fiber in different directions, lay them down, and then we had to put them in a giant autoclave, and then come out of autoclave and you have to cut these things up. This is like a NASA-level engineering project, and we did this in 2 weeks, made these legs. And at the end of the day, it didn't work. It's still my favorite project we did, but it was a complete failure. It couldn't really lift up, the controls were wrong. I mean, making a custom vehicle in 4 weeks from scratch, pretty proud of that. But it failed. And it brought me back to when I was doing my PhD. I wore this hat, and it said on it, said, frequent failure. And my classmates who were appalled, they're like, failure? You can't have failure? We gotta succeed. We're educated, we gotta get results. I'm like, this is research science. You're not gonna get anywhere unless you fail, because that's how you learn. And so we did fail on this, but we did not fail on this. This is anyone know what this is? Big blue circle. It's a water slide simulator. Okay, everyone try to say that, water slide simulator. I was in Japan giving a talk at Fukushima High School. And I'm like, and this is a water slide simulator. And the kids were. And I'm like, could you translate that? And the translator's like, oh, water slide simulator. All the kids are like, oh! I put on my little name tag, Japanese, because I really want to learn that. It took a lot of people to build this thing, though. We built this in 5 weeks. That's pretty breakneck. The whole thing spins. You sit in the bottom of it. You program out your slide. You go down it, and it puts you through this miraculous ride. It took all these people to make this happen. Actually, if you filled in the rest of the circle with engineers, that's all the people that had to come together to make it happen. During the show, I was always thinking, like, wow, all these resources that we pull together to make a water slide simulator for TV, and by the way, I think TV is a big waste of time. Thought, can't we do something more with this? Can we do something better? And then this project just happened in my life that totally changed me. Someone approached me and asked if I wanted to work on a brace for treating kids with clubfoot. So 250,000 kids are born a year with clubfoot. Most 80% of the cases are in developing countries. And there's a non-surgical treatment method where you kind of stretch the feet and you cast it. And as a part of that, you have to wear a brace. Problem is that braces are expensive, and you need about 10 of them. So it can cost thousands of dollars. No big deal here, but in developing countries, it's a no-go situation. So they asked if I wanted to work on this, and I looked at this brace, and I'm like, yeah, I could do that. And so I immediately called my friend that worked at Autodesk, got software, called my friend at a 3D printing company, got that, called my friend at Burton Snowboards who worked on braces, and they got a team together, and 9 months later, we had this, a 3D printed, totally revolutionary device that was ultra low cost, but just as functional. And then my life changed. I went down to Nicaragua. There's this moment where it's like all my expertise and like all this like talent pool come together to make this thing, this 3D printed thing. And I put it on this kid's foot, and he was crying when he came in. When I put it on, I stopped crying, unrelated. But the moment like that went on, something changed. This kid's going to walk because we were able to leverage our expertise to make a difference. So I came back and I would tell my friends, my engineers, and they'd say, I went and did this, and I would love to work on a project like that. I said, wow, you are like an expert. You are so valuable. Wow, and you want to do this for free? Amazing. I talked to other nonprofits, and they'd say, oh, we have this technical hurdle. We have this challenge. And I'm like, oh, huh. Didn't take a PhD to like, let's put these together and see what we can do. And so that's what we created, was a nonprofit that leverages this vast talent pool to create life-changing innovations, and in the process, they discover meaning in their lives. Call this cooperative innovation, and it's about this change. We're going from being a competitive species to being a cooperative species, and we're all starting to work together. And we're seeing that in the emergence of collaborative consumption, the sharing economies, Lyft, Airbnb. You look at it, and we've worked on a lot of these projects, but it's now how do we get to the point where we can actually scale this? I'm teaching a course on cooperative innovation now at UC Berkeley, and part of what my students are going to be doing is they're going to be going out in the world and they're going to be discovering real-world problems that people can then work on. I look at my dad. My dad just retired, super talented man. He's amazing, and he's bored stiff. Nothing to do. He's working on stupid stuff. I'm like, Dad, what do you can do great things with your life. You have another 20 years to do something amazing. And so this is part of the talent pool that we want to tap into. To scale this, of course, we have to look to the internet and the tools. And so we pull from like Kickstarter. Think of Kickstarter, but instead of like just giving money, you can give your skills and your expertise and your talent. Put that into it. Think of Airbnb, where you have a reputation system built in. So now you have volunteers working with projects, but now they're vetting each other and they're holding each other accountable. And then we're building the whole thing as an open source project, like WordPress. So we pull all these components together, and we're creating this open source online platform that makes it possible for people to put up projects and then other people to come in and donate their skills, their expertise, and their resources to make a difference. Of course, we're making it open source, so anyone can take this and you can go use it. You can go use it for the downtown project and just white label it for yourself. And then there's some projects. The kid on the left there, you find these projects everywhere. So I was just in Wyoming, and I went back, since I hadn't been there since I was 10. I was hanging out with Dave's dad. Dave went on to be quite a swimmer. 16-time All-American swimmer, NCAA champion, broke a world record, pretty amazing. And then one winter he was sledding up at the cabin, right by our cabin, and he hit a tree, broke his back, paralyzed from the waist down. This is like my childhood friend. But Dave isn't one to stop. Dave's out there hunting elk in a wheelchair. He's shooting geese one-armed because he can't turn the chair and shoot, so he just shoots them like that. Dave is unstoppable. He's amazing. He's a Paralympian, and now he's the coach of the Paralympic swimming team. It's absolutely amazing, but Dave has a problem. He can't really, his chair sucks. And there's no company that has really invested their time in really nailing this chair. So him and his dad started a company, Enabled Outdoors, and they just hit a roadblock about 8 months ago because they couldn't make the technical advances that they needed to in order to move this forward. And so now this is a ReAllocate project. It's something that I'm deeply invested in. How can we take this and now make this a super badass off-road electric wheelchair so Dave can go cruising all around the mountains just like we used to and go back to the secret fort, he can go hunting, and he can live his life. And not only that, but open source the whole project, so now anyone can make this. Anyone can order the parts. Everyone can see the process that it went through. So we're going to go find the best engineers from Boeing, or Lockheed, or NASA, and pull them all together and really blow this thing out of the water. And I might add a little bit of my flavor to it as well. I don't know if this will play, but this is my 1970 BMW 2002. One day, I was bored, and I decided to cut the roof off it, put 100 pounds of propane in the back seat, hook up 8 computer-controlled fire cannons to it, and then go do a little performance in downtown Santa Barbara with it. Totally illegal. Totally illegal. But I think this is the kind of stuff that we can do when we work together, we cooperate, we collaborate, and we totally innovate, and we can change the world altogether. Thank you.
Actually,
we're actually going to play the videos right now because they're really compelling and awesome. And so you can sit down, but we'll still play them. Stacey's going to play them now. We're just building the suspense.
Sorry, guys. Technical difficulties. Here we go.
The steering locks, the rear brake triggers, and Tim's shoes are taken prisoner.
When we were coming with the idea of the show, we were like, we're going to have someone to test this stuff. Oh, we know. There'll be this guy that's hanging with Tim. He'll always be standing in the corner of the shop eating a hamburger. Hey, guys. Hey, Tim, we've got something for you to test. Really? So the first day we had to do a stunt, they brought in the stunt guy. And guess what his name is? Tim. Look what we did for Tim. Go for the big ones, the big file size.
Here we go. I can't find the outline.
There was one more.
What was the name of it?
It's the one that said movie.
Okay. Perfect. Awkward.
Movie dot move.
Okay. Is that it? Oh, yeah. Oh, it won't work. Bummer.
We'll have to post it on the Catalyst board.
I'll post it. Yeah, I'll post it up there for you guys.